Hello students, today we are going to study a poem written by Rudyard Kipling, and he is one of my favorite poet too, and this poem is taken from class 10th Rainbow, and this poem attempts to tell us how to be a man dealing with any life matters in the future confidently. Not only is the if targeted at the men but also women. How to deal with lies, being hated, waiting, and so on is written vividly on the first verse, and that is universal. The poem tries to teach about leadership during difficult times. In fact, the author opened the poem giving an idea about challenges of life. The first three lines gives an idea how life can sometimes be difficult and how men can turn their back on each other during trying times. The author continues by adding life's reality such as being lied about as well as being hated. And although he offers the bitter reality of life, Kipling also counteracts this by offering piece of advice. This is evident in the lines if you can keep your head, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, don't deal in lie and don't give any way to hating. Kipling talks about how important is to dare to dream and yet not allowing those dreams to control your life. He likewise talks about embracing these dreams and being sensitive enough not to trample others people's dream. At the same time, the author also talks about being humble and not allowing triumph to get into one's head. We can conclude that we can learn so many things in this poem, such as the dreams, the wish, and the success. Now we are going to see the biography of Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling was born in Bombay, that time now Mumbai, India on December 20th, 1865, and he was one of Britain's most famous writers, although his work never attracted the critical acclaim that writers like E.M. Forster, T.S. Eliot, and William Butler Yeats enjoyed. His reputation has suffered in contemporary times due to the sentimentality of his work as well as the themes of imperialism and cultural hegemony. Kipling began his life with his family in India, his father a director of an art museum and his mother a socialite until at 5 years old he and his sister Alice moved to South Sea, England. Kipling felt isolated and neglected in the shooting care of a family who boarded the children of British nationals serving in India. Art became his refuge and he began to write short stories. Kipling credited frequent visits to the London home of his aunt Georgiana and her husband Edward Boone Jones, a painter, with saving him. He was exposed to his art, philosophy, and literature at a young age. When he was 13, he enrolled in the United Service College in Devon but could not enter the military because of poor eyesight. In 1882, Kipling returned to India and took up journalism. He wrote for the Lahore Civil and Military Gazette and published stories and poems. Many of these poems were compiled into departmental ditties. He became increasingly popular and his work revealed the oftentimes problematic nature of British imperialism. In 1885, Kipling joined the Freemasons. This organization would be personally fulfilling for the writer as well as influential in his work. In 1889, he returned to England and encountered and became lifelong friends with writer Henry James and Henry Rider Haggard. His popularity was firmly rooted in his short stories and poems. He never had much luck with longer forms of prose. Barrack Room Ballads 1890 A collection of poems and songs brought him considerable attention. Kipling married Caroline Ballister in 1892 and they moved to United States to reside with Caroline's family in Vermont. They had their first child, Josephine, and Kipling began writing the famous Jungle Book and a year later its sequel. The romantic and sentimental nature of his tales appealed to contemporary audiences. In 1896, the couple returned to England and their son John was born. Kipling, Kipling began to visit South Africa frequently and wrote of the Boer War with the Dutch. Sadly, Kipling's daughter died of pneumonia in 1899. In 1902, Kipling and his family moved to Sussex following the publication of Kim 1901, the most popular of his works during his lifetime. More stories collection followed and he was honored with the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1907. It is often wondered why he was not offered the post of poet laureate, and some claim that he was offered it but turned it down. Kipling continued to write throughout the 1910s. He supported Britain's effort in World War I but was devastated when his son John died at the front not long after he joined the army. Kipling died of a perforated ulcer in January of 1936. He was 70 years old. His autobiography, Something of Myself and Other Autobiographical Writing, was published posthumously. Now I am going to read the poem If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one ton of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, your is the earth and everything that's in it. Everything that's in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. So this is the poem. Now we are going to see the summary. Now I am going to explain you the summary line by line of if. And the explanation of first sentence is, to be a good human being and to succeed in life, we should keep calm when other people around us are losing their cool. We should not lose our temperament even if others are blaming us for their fault. Losing the temper does not solve a problem, rather intensifies that. Keeping the head cool makes us think wisely to face those tough situations. And ultimately, a solution comes out. We should have the faith in ourselves, even when others doubt us, but after that, we should give some importance to their doubt too and try to find out what may be the reason for their suspicion. After all, to err is human. So, by keeping faith in ourselves, we make sure that we don't get demoralized or disheartened. And by allowing others doubt a little space of thought, we ensure that we are not doing something wrong knowingly or unknowingly. We should work hard and wait for the result patiently. We should not get tired by waiting. There are a number of real life examples where people missed big opportunities only by losing their patience. Moreover, there goes a number of proverbs. Hurry will bury you, haste make waste, patience pay off. So it's quite understandable why the poet makes a point for patience here. People may lie about us to others, but we should not indulge ourselves in lies. In other words, we should always remain truthful if we are misled or tempted to lie. People would ultimately discover the truth and won't believe us anymore. That's why it's important to speak the truth even if that hurts us. People may show their hatred toward us, yet we should not hate them. We should show our love and respect to others. No man or woman is perfect in this world. Everyone has his strengths and weaknesses. We have to accept that they respect them for the good qualities in them. We should not show us too good a person or talk too wisely with common people. Even after possessing such qualities, having acquired all these good qualities mentioned above, people generally feel proud and tend to show off how good they are. But the poet warned us not to go that way. In that case, others may try to prove us wrong at any cost, leading to unhealthy competition. Now I am going to explain you second stanza. To do something bigger, we should dream first. But the poet also reminds us not to be guided by unrealistic dreams. If dreams take the driver's seat, we would get detached from reality and eventually fail. There goes a saying, you have to dream first before your dream can come true. So, we should dream to reach great heights in life, but keeping the reality in mind. We should be able to think over a matter, but should not make the thoughts our aim. That is to say that we often lose our radar and get detached from the main point. So our thinking should not be scattered, misleading us away from the target. Life is a combination of success and failure, joy and sorrow, good times and bad times. We should accept both and face both situations with similar treatment. Here the poet personified triumph and disaster, capitalizing and calling them two impostors. People becomes too happy in success and forget their duty at hand. We may also get too complacent or proud at a small success, reducing our chances to reach higher goals. Again, at a small success, reducing our chances to reach higher goals. Again, at bad times, we are too grieved, we may lose our faith and confidence. In both cases, our regular course of work is hampered. That is why the poet calls triumph and disaster two impostors. He asks us to treat those deservers similarly, with a smiling face. In short, Don't be too happy or too sad under any circumstances. We have to bear the tough situation where we see that our speech or statement is distorted by someone to befool others. Very often we see that people misinterpret or even deliberately distort our words to use it in their favor. We should not lose our temper hearing that. Rather, we should tolerate that, ensuring we have spoken the truth. We have to hold our nerves even after seeing that our favorite thing that we built with all our effort and time is broken. Then we have to pick up the scattered parts and build it all over again. This is another key to getting to the top of the world. According to the poet, to keep our cool is not easy in such a situation, but patience and the mental toughness would help us build them again. Now I am going to explain you third stanza of this poem. We should be able to accumulate all we have and take a risk in one turn of the game. Of pitch and toss, we may lose the game and all our possessions, but we have to stay calm without uttering a word that lost and rebuilt it from the beginning. Here the poet talks about the capability of taking big risks to achieve much greater success and keeping quiet even if we lose the bet. This is yet another aspect of our mental toughness that we need to possess. In the 4 lines above, the poet continued the same theme of mental strength, and the power of will. We have to force our body to serve us even after it has lost the strength due to old age or illness. Thus, we should keep on working driven by the power of will, which would ask them to hold on, compelling them to do their job. If we want to do something great from our heart, the will inside us would prevent the body from getting tired. Indeed, there goes a proverb, when going gets tough, the toughs get going. When going gets tough, the tough gets going. Now, I am going to explain you fourth stanza of this poem. We should stay in touch with people from every class of the society. We should be able to talk with common mass without losing our virtue or moral values. Again, we should be able to walk with kings without going beyond the reach of the common people. The common touch would help us realize the reality and feel the needs of the society. On the other hand, the noble touch would give us the power and opportunity to reach higher goals. We should build ourselves strong enough, mentally and physically, so that neither enemies nor loving friend can hurt us. Moreover, we should develop healthy relationship with everyone around us and should not allow anyone to harm us. We have to develop our personality the right way so that everyone supports us and gives us importance, but none too much. If we allow someone to give us too much importance, we may be emotionally bound. That may restrict our freedom and prevent us from doing our duty. Or we may get complacent, think that we are so much liked by people, thus reducing our effort. Time is precious. A minute is filled with 60 seconds. Time is here called unforgiving, as it waits for none and doesn't forgive him who wastes it. We should utilize every minute of our life in productive work. Wasting time is not something we can afford in our short lifespan. Finally, comes the achievement that we can get if we fulfill all the conditions mentioned so far. If we can win this earth and everything in it, we can go to top of the world and rule over everything. And what is more, we would be a complete and perfect human being. We should not forget that Kipling wrote this poem for his son. As it is addressed in the very last line, द पोएट वॉन्टेड टू शो हिज सन द राइट वे टू बी अ फ्यूचर लीडर। अब मैं आपको इस कविता के बारे में बताऊंगी और फिर उसका अनुवाद बताऊंगी। सच ये है कि ये कविता एक शिक्षा है जीवन के महत्वपूर्ण चीज़ों के बारे में। इस कविता में जो भी गुणों क्वालिटीज़ के बारे में जिक्र किया गया है वे एक लड़के को आदमी बना सकते हैं। आदमी बनने पर इस संसार पर धरती का बहुत कुछ उसे मिलेगा। वो एक सही आदमी बनकर अपना जीवन निर्वाह कर सकता है। कुल मिलाकर हम ये कह सकते हैं कि इस कविता का विषय वस्तु है मैनहुड या लीडरशिप। यहाँ पे खुद कवि जिन्होंने अपने बेटे को शिक्षा देते हुए ये कविता लिखा है, सचमुच ये ज्ञानवर्धक तथा प्रेरणादायक कविता है। मुझे लगता है हर किसी को फिर से ये कविता पढ़ लेनी चाहिए क्योंकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इसका अपन फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं और ख़ास तौर पे नौजवान वर्ग। इस कविता के बारे में कुछ महत्वपूर्ण चीज़ें, कुछ बातें। ये कविता बहुत ही प्रेरणादायक है, साथ ही में एक पथ प्रदर्शक भी है अपनी ज़िंदगी के लिए। ये कविता हमें बताती है तुम जीत सकते हो, हर कठिनाइयों का सामना कर सकते हो। ये धरती तुम्हारी हो सकती है यदि तुम अपने आप को सही ढंग से चला सको और सही ढंग से चलने का तरीका सीख सको इस कविता के द्वारा। इस कविता की लाइन विंबलडन के खिलाड़ियों के प्रवेश द्वार पर भी लिखा है। If you can meet the triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same। अगर आप हार जीत विजय पराजय दोनों को यह व्यवहार कर सकते हैं तो ये एक सच्ची चीज़ है कि एक सच्चा खिलाड़ी जब खेलते हैं वे दोनों चीज़ें देखते हैं, जीत या हार। इस जीत या हार के बाद भी ज़िंदगी को आगे बढ़ाना पड़ता है। हार से ज़्यादा मायूस होना नहीं चाहिए तथा जीत से खुशी के मारे जश्न ही मनाते नहीं रहना चाहिए। ये कविता इतनी प्रेरणादायक है कि काफ़ी लोग इसे अपनी ऑफिस या घर के कमरे में फ्रेम करके रखते हैं ताकि उन्हें हर रोज़ पढ़ने को मिले एवं हर रोज़ उत्साह भर जाए उनकी ज़िंदगी के जीने के तरीके में। कुछ लोग इस कविता को फ्रेम करके गिफ्ट के रूप में भी देते हैं। इस कविता का विषय वस्तु गुरुत्वपूर्ण है तो है ही, साथ साथ पिता पुत्र के बारे में भी लिखा है, इसलिए इसकी अहमियत को आसानी से पालन करें तो हम जीना सीख जाएंगे। यही समझबूझ इस कविता में दिखाई देती है। यहाँ पे एक पिता पुत्र का रिश्ता भी दिखता है। वो बोलते हैं कि मैं एक बेटा हूँ और एक पिता भी हूँ। मैं महसूस करता हूँ कि एक अनोखा बंधन है। जब आप एक पिता का कर्तव्य या किरदार निभाते हैं तो आपको एक समर्थ रखवाला बनना पड़ता है। बेटे का आपको फ्रेंड फिलोसोफर एवं गाइड भी बनना पड़ता है। जब बेटा नौजवान हो जाता है पिता और पुत्र को काफ़ी चुनौतियों का सामना करना पड़ता है। पिता और पुत्र के रिश्ते या बंधन को संभाल के रखने के लिए काफ़ी मेहनत दोनों को ही करनी पड़ती है। एक पिता का इमोशनल सपोर्ट और उसका साथ देना और साथ रहना काफ़ी मदद कर देता है। ये ताकत भी पहुंचाता है। इसलिए पिता पुत्र को एक दूसरे को समझते हुए अपना दायित्व और कर्तव्य निभाना चाहिए। साथियों, बात सही लग रही है कि और भी ऐसी कुछ चीज़ें हमें इस कविता से सीखने को मिलती हैं। अब इस पोयम का अनुवाद मैं पैराग्राफ वाइज करूँगी, स्टैंजा वाइज। तो पहले स्टैंजा में लिखा है, यदि तुम अपना मानसिक संतुलन रख सको जब तुम्हारे चारों ओर के लोग अपना संतुलन खो रहे हों और तुम पर दोष लगा रहे हों, यदि तुम स्वयं पर विश्वास रख सको जबकि सभी लोग तुम पर संदेह करते हों, लेकिन उनके संदेह करने पर भी यदि तुम उन्हें माफ़ कर देते हो, यदि तुम प्रतीक्षा कर सकते हो और प्रतीक्षा से ऊबते नहीं हो, तो दूसरों के द्वारा तुम्हारे विषय में झूठ बोले जाने पर भी तुम झूठ नहीं बोलते हो और जब दूसरे लोग तुमसे घृणा करते हो, तुम उनसे घृणा नहीं करते, और फिर भी अधिक अच्छा बनने के लिए व अधिक बुद्धिमान बनने को दिखावा नहीं करते, तो तुम एक श्रेष्ठ और पूर्ण मनुष्य बन सकते हो। ये पहला स्टैंजा का अनुवाद है। अब सेकंड स्टैंजा का। यदि तुम स्वप्न देखते हो, सपने सभी देखते हैं ना, यदि अपन स्वप्न देखते हैं और अपने स्वप्नों को अपना स्वामी नहीं बनाते हो, यदि तुम सोचते हो और विचारों को अपना लक्ष्य एम नहीं बनाते हो, केवल मात्र सोचने से काम नहीं चलता। विचारों को अपने लक्ष्य या वास्तविकता में बदलने के लिए अपने को उसका कार्य करना चाहिए, मतलब कुछ न कुछ कोशिश अपने को करते रहना चाहिए। यदि विजय और पराजय नामक दोनों धोखेबाजों का समान भाव से देखते हो, विजय से घमंड में क्या होता है, अपन बहुत एकदम गर्व महसूस करने लगते हैं और पराजय में निराश हो जाते हैं। यदि तुम उस सत्य को सुनना या सहन कर सकते हो जो तुमने कहा है तथा जिसको चालक लोगों द्वारा तोड़ मरोड़ कर मूर्ख लोगों के लिए एक षड्यंत्र बनाने के लिए कहा जाता है, तो आप क्या करेंगे उस समय? अपनी कही हुई बात पर अडिग रहेंगे, और अपनी बात को यदि कोई विरोधी चालाकी से या स्वार्थवश तोड़ मरोड़ कर प्रस्तुत भी करे, तो आप विचलित या परेशान नहीं होंगे, और तुम उन वस्तुओं को सहज भाव से टूटा हुआ देख सकोगे जिनके लिए तुमने अपना जीवन दिया है, और जिन्हें तुम फिर साहस तथा परिश्रम के औजारों से फिर बना सकोगे। तुम टूट गए हो, लोगों ने तुम्हें तोड़ा है, उसके बाद फिर तुम क्या करोगे? अपने साहस से और परिश्रम से फिर से बना सकोगे। तब तुम एक श्रेष्ठ और पूर्ण मनुष्य बन सकते हो। अब यहाँ पे मैं आपको स्टैंजा 3 का अनुवाद बताऊंगी। यदि तुम अपनी उपलब्धियों का ढेर बना सको, अर्थात उन्हें एकत्रित कर सको तथा उस सबको दांव लगाकर हार जाओ और पुनः अपना कार्य आरंभ कर सकते हो और अपनी हानि के विषय में एक भी शब्द नहीं बोलते, यदि तुम तन व मन से पूरी तरह थक जाने पर भी अपनी इच्छा शक्ति को काम पर लगा सकते हो और दृढ़ बने रह सकते हो, अर्थात निराश नहीं होते, जब तुम्हारे पास सिवाय उस दैवीय इच्छा शक्ति के जो तुम्हारे समस्त शक्तियों से कहती है लगे रहो, काम करते रहो, और उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं, तभी तुम एक श्रेष्ठ और पूर्ण मनुष्य बन सकते हो। ठीक है। अब लास्ट स्टैंजा, इसमें कहा गया है, यदि तुम आम लोगों से बातचीत करते हो या संपर्क में रहते हो तो अपने गुणों को उनके सामने बनाए रखना, और राजा हो या महाराजा हो या और भी बड़े लोग हों, उनकी अगर तुम्हें संगति मिलती है तो तुम ऐसा नहीं करोगे कि आम लोगों को भूल जाओ। यदि तुम इतने अच्छे हो कि ना दुश्मन ना ही घनिष्ठ मित्र तुम्हें कष्ट पहुंचा सके, क्योंकि सम्मान देते हो लेकिन किसी को आवश्यकता से अधिक महत्व नहीं देते हो, यदि तुम 1 मिनट का समय भी बर्बाद नहीं करते और उसका पूर्ण सदुपयोग या यूज़ करते हो, तो यह संसार तुम्हारा है और इसमें उपस्थित प्रत्येक चीज़ तुम्हारी है। सिर्फ इतना ही नहीं मेरे बेटे, इससे भी बड़ी बात यह है कि मेरे बेटे तुम एक आदर्श मनुष्य बन जाओगे अगर तुम इसी रास्ते पर चलते रहे।